Hello, folks. Welcome to Club Passim, the Alston edition. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. This is the final. It's not a slam because it's not a competition tonight, but this is the final storytelling night for Massmouth, and we here at Passim are so honored to be able to be the ones to bring you this lovely wrap up Massmouth event. Before we get to the stories for tonight, I just want to tell you a little bit about Passim. I am accidentally wearing my Passim shirt. That's how much I'm into this place. But if you don't know anything about us, we are a nonprofit. Usually music venue, but we do have some open mic nights, a couple poetry nights, and our monthly Massmouth night. And I don't remember how many years we've been partnering with Massmouth, but someone will fill me in later in the evening. But we have been bringing you streams nearly every night since we've had to shut down in March. But the venue in Harvard Square has been around for over 60 years. And it's because of your support that we're able to keep bringing you shows. And it's because of you that we're able to especially bring you shows during these difficult times. And the arts are so important right now, as evidenced by the number of people that are tuned in tonight already. So thank you so much for showing up, for joining in. And I know some of you are going to be telling stories tonight as well. So you're going to be part of the art that we're all enjoying. If you folks do enjoy the show tonight, you can donate to Passim at passim.org/stream. We're suggesting a $20 donation for the show tonight, which is about what the ticket price would be if this were the in-person show. Your donations go right back into the club and allow us to pay our staff and to pay our artists and to help us keep running through these times and reopen whenever it is that we are able to reopen. So thank you for coming. I hope you enjoy the show. I'm going to turn things over now to our Massmouth hosts for tonight. Please help me welcome Teresa and Cheryl.
Hey! Hello, everyone. Hi, Cheryl. Thank you so much, Abby, and thank you for Passim for hosting us this evening. I am Teresa Okokin, and I am a storyteller and a show host with Massmouth. And I'm joined here on screen by Cheryl Hamilton, who first and foremost is my friend, and also has been not the only human, but one of the driving force humans behind Massmouth for the last 5 years. Cheryl, I'm going to turn to you first, and then we'll come back to me.
Awesome. Yeah, I echo the friend first, but I think it's really important for our audience to know we're friends because of Massmouth. That's where we met. We both walked into Passim. Actually, you walked into Doyle's first, right?
Doyle's first, yeah.
I met you at Passim, where I discovered Massmouth. So I'm so glad that we got connected through it. And I also want to shout out to Club Passim again, and Abby and Matt and the entire team there. Going to Club Passim is like coming home, and so it's just, now you're in our homes. But thanks for hosting us tonight. It's going to be a good night of stories. But speaking of stories, we asked people if they wanted to put their name in the hat, which usually we would do that night in the room, but we asked you ahead of time. But that doesn't mean that if you still want to tell a story, you can. Here's how we're going to do it. We had over 35, I think, people put their name in the hat. So sorry, guys, if you didn't get, there's a lot of people out there eager.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it speaks to people's activity in the storytelling world. Teresa and I were saying that if you do not get picked, which I know is a heartbreak, please record your stories. And Massmouth is happy to push them out the next couple of weeks before we wrap things up. But what we're going to do tonight is we're going to pull 5 names out of this bowl that were pre-signed up on the form. If you're like, I didn't know there was a form, Abby is going to add to the contacts the link. And you can put your name in tonight, even if you're moved by a story before intermission. Because right before intermission, I'm going to choose the next 5. And so rather than one-on-one, we're just going to do this in a chunk of people. The way it's going to work, though, is if your name is drawn, please be on your edge to look at your emails. Actually, all 35 of you should do that right now, because after I choose your name, if you get picked, Abby's going to send you a link about how you can join Teresa and I on screen. So, and then Teresa will tell you how we're going to handle timing and all of that next. But let's just get to the names, because that's the most exciting. All right. See, I am mixing them up.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Usually at Club Passim, we have a beer pitcher, but I don't drink beer. I just drink wine. So this is just a big wine glass.
A fishbowl.
All right. Here we go, folks.
All right. Who's the first name?
Heather Rodman.
Heather Rodman. Be ready and be checking your email. You are storyteller number 1.
We should say you have a breath because we have a special guest. So don't worry. It's not like you're going to be like right now. Okay. No. Oh, sorry.
Storyteller number 2. Let's see who it's going to be.
Joe Cabartes. I'm sorry.
Joe Cabartes, you are storyteller number 2. Number 2 in Massmouth's final show.
Still mixing them up. This is so exciting. It's fun to be on the other side. I really never host really, so awesome. Long time Massmouth volunteer, Miss Grace Gowdy.
Grace Gowdy, storyteller number 3, Grace Gowdy.
Oh my God, this is so nerve-wracking, and I'm not even going to be telling a story.
This is so much power that you have, Cheryl. It's so much power. You are controlling it right now. I love it.
All right. Kathleen O'Brien.
Kathleen O'Brien, you are storyteller number 4. Storyteller number 4.
All right.
And last storyteller of the first half
is longtime Massmouth supporter, Mr. Tony Toledo.
Tony Toledo, storyteller number 5. All right. So thank you so much, Cheryl.
I'll see you guys before the halftime.
See you soon. All righty, y'all. So tonight's show is a slam, right? And usually in slams, it's judged. And tonight's show is not going to be judged. It's our last show. And so instead of it being judged, I mean, I'm going to tell you all in advance that you are all winners. But please know that I, in my heart, am judging you, and I'm judging you deeply. So if you come to slams to be judged and, you know, all of that kind of stuff, I'll judge you in my heart. Don't worry about it. But otherwise, this is just a friendly community. And that's really what Massmouth is. You know, Massmouth started so many years ago. We're going to talk more about the history of Massmouth as we move forward in the show, but it's really a community of friends. And so that's what we wanted to focus on in our show, in our final show this evening. So standard things like any other slam, you have 5 minutes to tell your story. And you have a 30-second grace period. At the 5-minute mark, you are going to hear me make a sound. You will not see me, but you will hear this sound, and everybody watching the show is going to hear that sound. That's how you know that you are at 5 minutes. At 5 minutes and 30 seconds, or just as we're coming up to 5 minutes and 30 seconds, Abby, who you saw earlier from Club Passim, is going to bring my delightful little face up on screen with you, you know, to make it awkward, and for you to wrap it up and end your story. That's what we're going to do. But other than that, we've got 5 amazing storytellers for you. Your story should be on theme. Cheryl can tell me in the chat, but I'm pretty sure that the theme is changes. So your story should be on theme. Change. The theme is change. Your story should be on theme. It should be 5 minutes or less. It should be first person. It should be true. Do not lie to us. Okay, I don't like liars. I get enough of them when I'm online dating. It should be a true story about you. And the theme is change. And you can interpret that any way that you would like to. Our first storyteller that we have coming up is, I mean, what can we say? She is a person that so many of us look to for guidance. The woman has a story about everything. I had a Facebook memory pop up involving this woman just earlier this week, or it might have even just been today, like from 2 years ago today or 1 year ago today, where we were at a slam. She and I went to a slam together, and the theme was like caught red-handed or something like that. And she had to go back to like the 3rd grade to remember a time when she had been caught, because this woman is a storyteller. She is an activist. She is a powerhouse. She is an inspiration. She is one of the primary reasons behind there being so much storytelling in the city of Boston and in the greater Boston area. It is Massmouth co-founder Nora Dooley. I managed not to cry.
Gosh, what a beautiful introduction.
Nora, I'm going to go backstage and we are ready for your story. Thank you so much for being here. And also thank you for existing as a human being.
So you first know about change because there's something different. I mean, you don't know what the difference is and you don't know what the change is going to be, but you're like, something is different here. Something's happening. And when my mother called me at work, I knew, wow, that is different. Because I was a middle school teacher and you don't call middle school teachers at work. And my mother called me at work and she called me because she said she had a medical emergency. Now, that was not different because really she had a lot of medical emergencies, but that she would call me at work and there was this sound in her voice and it was different. And I knew that something big was going to change. So I left work, and let me tell you, that was a big deal because it was a toxic workplace, and to go for even something as important as your mother needing you was not something that was going to be looked on fondly. So I took her to the doctor. The doctor immediately sent her to the hospital. At the hospital, they found a mass on her pancreas, and she had pancreatic cancer, and no one had known it, and it was really pretty bad, pretty advanced. And so 3 weeks went by in and out of the hospital, different hospital and what do you call them, rehab centers and things. And it was just a total wreck. And I was teaching it at this school that was so demanding. And we had to figure something out. We had to figure something out with our family. Like, it was clear that my mother was never going to be able to go back home and take care of herself. So that was going to be a huge change. And we figured out that I could stay home and do hospice care. And so we figured out our little tiny apartment and how she was going to be with us. And we, figured out how we were going to make her last days with us comfortable. And we strapped in for the 2-month to 6-month ride that we were told was her life expectancy. But in fact, her last days were just 3 days after she came to be with us. And it was pretty devastating. I lost my mother. I had lost my job. I had quit my job to take care of my mother because that's what they told me I should do. I should quit. And I was at quite a loss, I have to say. And the one good thing is that my job had actually lied to me, that it made my life a living hell to get unemployment insurance because they had me quit. And so I spent all of June and all of July and all of August trying to get unemployment insurance. And I was so angry about that, it kind of helped with the grief. And at the end, though, in August, when I got unemployment insurance, it was August of 2009. The financial meltdown had happened. The only bright thing that had happened was that Barack Obama had been elected president, but there was a financial meltdown, and now there was a super recession, and I was not going to find a job. So if I went on unemployment, this was like a naturally occurring federal grant. I would have the money I needed to do the work that we had always wanted to do. See, there was this group of storytellers that had formed, and we called ourselves Massmouth in 2007. And we had this idea that maybe we could make a bridge between the storytellers of the 20th century, late 20th century revival into the 21st century, and that we would get storytelling out of the church basements with graham crackers and juice, and out of the preschool prejudging idea of storytelling into the idea that it was an art form, and that it was an art form for adults. So someone had told me about the Moth, and I took the Fenghua bus. Late in August, I took the Fenghua bus down to New York, and I waited with 300 other people to get in to see absolutely nobody famous. And I saw people of every age and shape and size and description and demographic waiting to hear stories. And I was just amazed. And so we came back to Boston, and I said to Andrea Levitt, I said, Andrea, we can do this thing. So we dropped a pin in Park Street Station, and we looked at all the pubs and lounges and bars and things around there. And we went to one called Kennedy's Uptown, and they had the perfect side room. And the owner's name was Wu-Tang, which I took to be a sign, because Wu-Tang Clan is from Staten Island, and I'm from Staten Island, and Wu-Tang Clan is kind of gangster. And, I'm kind of, my family, mostly the kind of gangster that ends in like vowels at the end of the name. But so we talked to Wu-Tang and we gave him this prospectus. I wrote it all up and I said, look, this is like a poetry slam, only there's never been a story slam in Boston. And he said, you mean like if we do a story slam here, we can say that it started right here in our bar? And I said, yes, you get it. You totally get it. And so on October 28th, 2009, we had a sold out room and we had the first ever story slam in Boston. There's a lot of changes that made it happen. And by doing that, though, we changed the way Boston listens to and tells stories. And those changes are going on. And I thank every single person. And there are so many people to thank that if I had to do that, I would go way over time. But I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, all the stories that I've heard, all the help that I was given, so many people, I thank you so much.
Nora, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. And also, what an inspiration to be reminded that Massmouth happened at a time when you were on unemployment and like you took advantage of that situation. You took advantage of, otherwise really difficult life circumstances. And, for Massmouth to close at a time when we're all sort of collectively in a shitstorm, pardon my language. It just makes me feel really inspired for what's going to come next. And I think I keep trying to remind myself that after after things in society fall apart, what almost always happens is an arts renaissance. And I can only wait. I can hardly wait for the renaissance of art that's going to follow the current, state that we're in. And I think the history of Massmouth really speaks to what can happen when something like that goes down. So thank you, Nora, for your story. And also, like I said, just thank you for existing and thank you for who you've been for all of us. Thank you so much. Alrighty, folks. So we have our first storyteller. They are backstage and ready to go. Our first storyteller is Heather Rodman. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Teresa.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
That's good. I love that little pattern chair you got going on behind you there. Very cute.
Here's a story that goes with it.
Okay, well, I'm going to pop invisible and have my sound off. I will be keeping time for you. You'll hear me ding my champagne flute when you're at 5 minutes, and then you're going to see my lovely face as you come up on 5:30, and then you should. Alrighty?
Okay.
Awesome, Heather. Go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
As I walk out my apartment door, I know that I look like a ninja-inspired Michelin man. Black Uggs up to my knees, long, heavy winter coat, fur-lined hood around my face, and a black neck warmer covering my nose. I have all of this protection on for a 3-block walk through a tunnel of snow. 8 feet of snow to my left and maybe 5 to my right. However, it's hard to tell. Somewhere under that wall of snow, there's cars. I don't really remember the last time I saw them, however. I have personally taken it to my own situation, being new to Boston, to dig out my car every single time it snows. However, this past weekend, I reached a breaking point because what I discovered was that my shovel could no longer do what it was meant to do. There was no way to shovel the snow up 8 feet of a mountain of snow and dump it and continue to dig out my car. So I broke down in the middle of the road and cursed my life, cursed taking my dream job, cursed living in Boston. And I wept as tears froze to my face. If I would have known 7 months ago that moving to Boston and taking my dream job would have meant renting a room in a house owned by cat paraphernalia hoarders for a month while I waited to get my apartment. Or if I would have known that my colleague that I shared an office with was filled with doom and gloom every day. Or if I would have known that Boston would have a historic, earth-shattering, record-breaking, snow-falling winter, I would not be standing in the middle of this road right now. On my walk, 3 blocks, I contemplated all of this. As I reached my destination, I instantly felt its warmth, and I began to shed my outer protection. 2 essential workers at the time greeted me with smiles and waves. I took my usual Thursday seat at the end of the bar, and my 2 lifeline bartenders walked the length of the bar to ask me how I was doing. These 2 guys were the only people in Boston that had been nice to me since I moved there. We chatted about the upcoming snow, and I shared my story about my breakdown in the middle of the road. And why not? I also shared my story of my pipes freezing earlier in the week and how I spent the better part of the day in a diner because my period decided to sync up with the frozen pipes and I was in desperate need for a bathroom. Dave, my bartender of all bartenders, looked at me and said, "Say no more. I'll be right back." He returned with my standard gin and tonic with 2 limes. He put it down in front of me. He leaned his elbow on the bar. He looked at me in my eyes and said, "You know, Heather, we Bostonians don't take too quickly to outsiders. However, tonight, I'm going to make an exception in your case. You've lived a life of hell in the last 7 months. Most people would have left by now and fled the city. But you stayed. I am officially making you a Bostonian tonight because you are Boston strong. You belong here. Welcome." As he walked away to get my fish tacos, I sat shocked and honored and somehow renewed all at the same time. The past 7 months melted away. My urge to cry disappeared. And I suddenly was not dreading the next forecasted foot of snow. I had just been knighted Boston strong by a badass Bostonian bartender. Life gets no better than that. As I lifted my glass to my lips, I toasted and said, "Cheers, Boston. I am Boston strong. I am here to stay. Bring it on." Thank you.
Heather, I love it. I think any of us who were in Boston that winter, the memories of it, the memories. As soon as you said 8 feet of snow on one side, I was like, oh yeah, I've walked them streets. That was so intense. And I felt so bad for people who had just moved to Boston that winter and like this was their introduction. You know, I remember saying to someone at a coffee shop, there was someone in my neighborhood at a coffee shop and they were like, "I just moved here," and it was a college student. She's like, "I don't know if I can make it." And I was like, "Please, we're not usually like this. So give us a chance." But I love it. Thank you so much for that story. That was beautiful.
Thank you. And I will also say that Massmouth saved me in some dark days as well. So thank you, Massmouth.
I know that feeling. Yes. Thank you, Massmouth. Okay, so I think our next storyteller is supposed to be Joe, but it looks like he is not quite backstage. So our next storyteller after that is Grace. Grace, are you back here with me?
Hi.
Oh my gosh, Grace!
How are you?
Grace, hoes don't get cold. I'm so excited to see you.
I'm so excited to see you. And I also, that was my first winter in Boston, that terrible one. But I'm originally from Florida. So people would say, where are you from? And I'd say Florida. And they would say, oh, you poor thing. And I'd say, no, I was here that winter. Like I got in line and I earned my badge like right off the top. I really liked it.
But did you have a bartender, Dave, tell you that you were Boston strong? I mean, that's...
I never quite got to that moment, which is why I'm not in Boston anymore, apparently. Without that badge, you run home, which is...
You know?
Yeah.
All right, Grace, I'm going to hop backstage. I will be timing for you, and you can get started whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I first have to say that I wasn't planning on telling a story tonight, which is why there's ice in my wine and hair on top of my head. In the old days, you know, the days before March, you knew when other people would see you, so you could prepare for those sorts of things. But I'm here and excited to be here. Thank you, Devin, for making me put my name in this hat one last time. So this story is about my one major personality flaw. Well, I mean, I probably have more than one major personality flaw, but I'm the one telling this story, so we're going with one. My one major personality flaw happened probably my whole life, but really came out during my sophomore year of college. During my sophomore year of college, I went abroad, like lots of us do, and I lived in Costa Rica for the summer, and I hated it. I was newly dating my now husband, and I desperately wanted to be home in that real lovesick kind of way. I was in a Spanish immersion program and didn't know any Spanish, and turns out don't have a brain for foreign language, or brain more generally, and I just was really quite miserable. And lucky for me, I found this girl who was from Idaho, the land of the potatoes, which is how she would introduce herself. And she was in much the same situation. She was lonely, she was homesick, and we really sort of stuck together. We felt the same way about really sort of random, nuanced things. We both wanted to go out, but we both wanted to leave the bar at the same time. We both wanted to have adventures, but we both had an eye for safety. We both liked to get to the airport wildly early before your flight, like 8, maybe 10 hours. So we bonded, and we were completely inseparable. Katie Easton and I were tight for 8 weeks. And on the last day, we took our taxi to the airport, 8 hours before our flight, and cried that we were leaving each other, but really excited to go home, gave each other a big hug, and walked away. And I have never spoken to Katie Easton again. Did you forget that this was a story about a personality flaw? My personality flaw is that I take on these platonic relationships with women as I have a common life experience with them. And then as our lives go in different directions, I cannot maintain these relationships no matter how hard I try. This got worse when I was a grad student. I had a best friend for our comp exams. I had a best friend for defending our dissertation, a best friend for going on the job market. And then we go in different directions. When I became a mom, it was a huge problem. I had a best friend for sleep training, a best friend for being nervous about labor, a best friend for figuring out how to drink wine while nursing. And then again, our lives go in different directions. And it's not like college where you can, enter a new semester with new classmates. There really isn't new opportunities to meet people unless you have these particular life experiences. And I can't figure out how to make this work. Tonight's theme is change, and I am standing here in front of you, well, really just in front of me, because that's the only face I can screen, but in front of all of you behind your screens, and I'm vowing to be different. I'm vowing to change. I want long-term platonic relationships. I want to think back to the days. I want like a Tina Fey, Amy Poehler situation. Really, I want a Maya Rudolph situation because she's my favorite. It's also, I'm standing in front of you, not as a storyteller, but as a classified ad. I am a 30-something who drinks ice in her wine. I'm a terrible cook. I talk a lot about it, but it's not that good. I am a new resident of North Carolina, an old resident of my beloved Boston, and I would like friends. So please, be a part of the change. Be a part of making me a better person, and don't let me ditch like I ditched Katie Easton. Thank you.
Grace, I want to be your friend. I want to be your forever friend, but I'm really only good at doing that if we're both on Facebook. Are you on Facebook?
Well, you and I are friends on Instagram, and I like your hashtags.
Oh, well, thank you. But I'm gonna do a better job of also continuing our friendship and being there for you, Grace, because I think you're a delight. So
I think we should change personal contact information on a live stream. What do you think? But before I go, thank you all for having me. I also have been to a Massmouth Story Slam on really low nights, and the energy in that room is just something so special to me, and I really just love Massmouth to pieces. So thank you to you all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Grace, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for calling in from North Carolina. Come on and raise up. I'm just really glad that you're here, and it's really good to see your face again.
Good to see you.
Alrighty, so I think we are just about ready for our next storyteller, who is supposed to be Kathleen. Is Kathleen backstage with me? I don't think so. Okay, then I'm going to have Cheryl come back up and join me. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, guys.
Cheryl's backstage with me. How are you?
We missed Kathleen. Did Joe? I don't think Joe jumped in either.
No.
But that's no Joe. But this is good for you tellers that were like, dang, I didn't get picked. It's a cutthroat world out here in storytelling. So here we go.
More suspense and drama and intrigue to the night for me personally.
Oh, okay. I love when former board members get picked. Miss Srilatha.
After Tony will be Srilatha. Wonderful. And then our last storyteller of the first half will be...
I'm a little too excited, I think, tonight.
There's no such thing. There's no such thing.
Pam Kristen.
Pam Kristen is our last storyteller of the first half. Okay, Srilatha and Pam, please be checking your email so that we can bring you backstage. That's how this game works. In the meantime, we're going to have Tony Toledo join me on stage. Tony.
Hey, how you doing, Teresa?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Delighted to be here. And just, like everybody else, want to go ahead and say my big thank you to Massmouth and all the work that everybody's done and the great joy that you brought to everybody for the last 10 years with all these great stories.
Snaps to that. Snaps to that. Yes, that. Yes, that. Tony, I'm delighted that you're here. I'm going to pop invisible backstage. You will hear me at the 5-minute mark if we get there. Okay?
All right. You got it. Thanks, Tracy.
You're ready.
I was thinking about this, and it said change. And I have always loved change, especially silver quarters. When I was a kid, my grandpa gave me his coin collection, and it was this cool thing that had all these buffalo nickels in it and had these Indian head pennies with it. And I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And I had that coin collection for years and years and years. And I added some of my own pennies, my wheat pennies I put into it. It was all I could afford when I was a kid and growing up. Get into college, and I'd gone away for a 3-day weekend, coming back to my house, and somebody had broken in. They stole my bicycle, and they stole my camera, and they stole my stereo, and that stuff could all be replaced. But what I couldn't replace was Grandpa's coin collection, because all that change was gone. And I just loved it. It was from Grandpa, and I thought to myself, I will never, ever go ahead and collect another coin in my life. These bastards took my coin collection from Grandpa. And I didn't for 6 months. And then I went back to my parents' house, and my sister Mary was there. She was working at a gas station, and Mary said, Tony, I want you to have these. And she held out her hand, and she gave me a fistful of silver quarters. And she said, you love coins. Don't give up on collecting them. You got to try. And I thought, Mary, maybe you're right. I do like this change thing. I think I'll keep on going with it. So for me, coins have always just had this great joy. When I was a kid, I thought that the only change in the world was our American quarters and nickels and dimes and pennies. And then I find out later there's all sorts of 50-cent pieces. And then I find out much later that they got these great big silver dollars that I just love. And for 7 years, I hosted Speak Up Spoken Word Open Mic in Lynn. So we had a different storyteller, a poet, or a community speaker come on, and they would speak for a half hour. We had an open mic that would have 20 people on it. And after each person spoke, I held up a coin and everybody would say, "This coin!" And I would make up a story about something. So say, Teresa, you read a poem about Robert Frost and you just talked about how much you loved it. I might hold that up and say, "This coin, why, this coin belonged to Robert Frost. And he put it in his penny loafers. Did you know that Robert Frost, his shoes were size 19? He had the biggest shoes of any poet in all of New England." And the people said, "Wow." And that's when I learned if you say anything like with enough gusto and serious enough, people will believe anything. And I passed out all those coins, but those coins were just a thank you when somebody was speaking and they got that little bit of change from all around the world. And I would go to a coin shop here in Beverly and I could buy a pound of foreign coins for $8. And most of them were really tiny and only a few of them were kind of big. Now, when I got invited to a birthday party to go in and, tell stories, and then I would surprise the kids with these coins from around the world, the kids always wanted the big coins. And I only had a few of the big coins, so they would start to argue some. And that's when I decided, oh, kids, wait a minute, I'm so sorry. These coins have got a year's worth of good luck with them, but the littlest ones have the most luck. So the coins that are really tiny like this, these are the ones that have the really good luck for a whole year. And the kids would say, "Oh, can I get a little one?" I said, "Oh, I don't know. I got to reach in and get it." Now, 90% of them were little, so all of them got the little ones. And then it was the ones that got the big ones, which I think are better, that they went ahead because you can see them better. And the kids would say, "Oh, look at that. I got a little one. I got all the good luck." And it was fascinating to me that these kids, that it showed what marketing could do for having that bit of change to them to go from the big ones to the little ones and really want it. And I got to say, too, that I love to take coins when I pass them out. I went to my friend's birthday party. She turned 50. So I had 50 JFK 50-cent pieces, and we passed them around. I talked to her sister, who was hosting the party, to make sure that would be all right, that I did it. And she said, "Absolutely." And everybody was sitting around the table. There was 20 of us. And everybody passed one of those coins over to her, and they told a story. And then we dumped all 50 of them on, and we were just laughing. And the great thing was, by holding up those coins and sharing them, everybody else got to hear the stories that most people would have just been coming up to the birthday girl to share with them themselves. Now, I got to say that I think for me, the coins came back into my life from knowing that my father carried a silver dollar. It was a Standing Liberty, sterling silver dollar, and he'd carried it so long in his change, it was worn smooth. You could barely see the Liberty there. And Dad carried that, and all his kids knew that he had that. So when he died, we went ahead and thought, what are we going to do with that? And Bobby said, "I got an idea." And each one of my siblings and I, we took that coin and we shared it at Christmas time, and somebody else carried it and had it. And I've loved change my whole life. And sometimes there's change in Massmouth that I'm not really happy that we got that kind of change, but we all deal with it. And we're glad for all the joy that Massmouth has brought to everybody. Thank you.
Tony Toledo, thank you so much for that story. Also, the quickness with which you made that about change as in coins was so brilliant, just really, really, really brilliant. I did not see that coming. And I have one of your 50-cent pieces. And I keep it in my bedroom. I keep it in a visible place that I see almost every single day in my bedroom. And I guess now is as good a time as any to widely announce that I've made the decision to move to Providence, Rhode Island. I know it's wild.
I wish you well.
I haven't even made it Facebook official yet. But I want you to know that as I was packing my room, I packed your coin. I was like, this is a thing that I need in my life. So I'm just really grateful for you and your stories and your coins and your doodles and your drawings.
Oh, thanks.
So
I got to say that there was one Massmouth slam that I joined, and it was on obsessions. Everybody else was talking about old boyfriends and old girlfriends and old flames. And I got up and said, my wife says that I'm obsessed with being a book collector, but I just like to have a first edition signed by the author and, in a beautiful dust jacket. That's not being obsessed. That's just a normal book collector. And I won that slam.
I love it. I love it.
Spot in my heart. But it's like taking things and taking the theme. And I was thinking, what could I do for change? I was talking with my girlfriend this afternoon, and she said, do the coins you always pass out. That's changed. I said, oh my gosh, you're right.
So smart.
Kim. Absolutely.
So smart. So smart. And I love that you credit the girlfriend with the idea. That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to know.
She's terrific. So she's a smart cookie and, happy to talk with her. And, it's an honor to be on here with all the other people. It's an honor to be here with you, Teresa. And, it's a beautiful thing. And I think that we're going to have, when you throw the pebble into the water and it ripples out.
Yes.
We're going to have the same thing from Massmouth for many years. I've only put my toe into Massmouth just a little bit compared to all the work that you and Cheryl and Nora and everybody else has done. So that's going to ripple out for many years. And thank you.
Yeah, that is, I really do think of Massmouth as a pebble. There is so many ripple effects from Massmouth. I mean, if anyone is taking time to scroll through the chat, I mean, the way that the city and the storytelling in the city has been influenced by Massmouth and specifically by Nora Dooley is really phenomenal. But Tony, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to ask if Srilatha is backstage. I'm not sure. Cheryl's here with me. Hi, Cheryl.
We're just going to keep going back and forth. I know Srilatha's getting on. We're working on the tech, but she'll be here in a second. We didn't find Pam. We know that people's lives, things change in your day. We've had a couple people write today that said things have to go. So we're going to pull another name. And should Pam show up, we'll put her in the second half.
That sounds great.
I have to laugh. I love Tony's story. It reminded me, you all can make fun of me, but a couple of years ago, there was a Halloween costume contest, and I dressed up as a change agent, and I had a big skirt of big quarters and dimes and like a little fedora, and nobody got my costume. Nobody. I even had the headpiece.
That is amazing. Wait, did you glue actual quarters onto the skirt? That sounds really heavy.
I went to Kinko's and Xerox them really big, and then I sewed them together, and I had this big skirt with a storyteller, Michael Sargent. It was his Halloween party. If you haven't seen Michael's story, it's on Stories from the Stage. It's fantastic. But but nobody got what I was. I had to be like, I'm a change agent.
Well, it sounds like a good costume to me. I'm seeing here in the backstage chat that we have Pam here with us, so I think we'll bring Pam on up. And then assuming that Srilatha is here before we move into intermission, then they will be next.
Great.
So Pam, thank you, Cheryl. Pam, can you join me, please? I think we said we had Pam. Maybe not. We'll give it a moment. Oh, nope, we don't have Pam. So let's bring Cheryl back up so that we can pull another name.
It's like, this is COVID-19. We're all figuring out tech. She's out, she's coming, she's trying so hard to tell a story.
It's the live show. It's the live show. In my opinion, or from my perspective, everyone is just in the back of Passim, waiting for the bathroom. That's what's happening right now.
All right, Pam's. Okay. Oh, they're having a chat. So we're gonna pull. Maybe we should pull the second half because I've got 8 more names.
Let's pull second half.
We're just doing this in the moment.
Yes, and then if one of these folks needs to move up early, we will let them know as soon as we possibly can. So be ready, storytellers. Be ready.
Okay, here we go. Second half. I know you're all on the edge of your
seat. First storyteller of the second half will be.
I feel like I should show this. So, Ajay Gowale.
Ajay Gowale is our first storyteller.
He's currently one of our board members.
Yes, indeed. Ajay has been wonderful on the board. And our second storyteller of the second half,
number 7,
is going to be
Linda Grosser. a
Linda
volunteer
Grosser.
extraordinaire and was in the Big Mouth Off last year.
Yes, Linda is wonderful too. Linda's great and has taken a lot of classes with Massmouth, which is a really cool thing that Massmouth has done sort of over the last couple of years, transitioning and teaching storytelling in addition to having events, which is an awesome change. Do you see what I did there? That has happened.
Yes, and we're so happy to see it. We've always said this. Like so many things have launched out of Massmouth, and we're just excited to see that happen. Okay,
really
number 8
is going to be
Andrea Kamens. She wrote in live tonight. So Andrea
Kamens, who's been super active in the chat, and I love it. I love reading people's feedback in the chat too. I think Andrea was saying how much she really related to Grace's story, which is cool. As Nora Julie says, one story calls for another. And
is this hard? This is 2 more, and we have so many names. We love you all, but
names. But also, just know that it's totally possible that one of the people that we called may not be here. They might be in the line for the bathroom at Passim, and so you never know.
Okay,
you still might get picked.
Number 9.
Number 9 is
Robin Galinsky. Robin
Galinsky.
Early Massmouth supporter, did a beautiful Massmouth minute, by the way. Where if you're interested, you can say a Massmouth minute, put it on our social media, and we'll share it. So thanks, Robin. Yes. Okay,
Robin,
here we go.
At Doyle's, and I was her roadie. It was great.
Okay, I really want to pick all of them, but I can't. So
just pick all of them at once, just a big chunk of names.
All right, here we go. Oh, this is too, okay, I'm not going to cry tonight.
Whoa.
All the way from California, Paula Jen.
Yes! Oh, the universe.
Paula was an incredible long-term volunteer extraordinaire. She did all these beautiful photos. She did all the video, which we couldn't even keep up with after she left. What a lineup. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
Okay. Is Srilatha in the house yet?
Do we have Srilatha here backstage? We do.
All right.
Hi, Srilatha. All righty.
So later.
Srilatha, come up. Thank you so much, Cheryl. I'll see you soon. Hi, Srilatha. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you. I just got the email and I joined immediately. So,
yay. Well, thank you for being here. So in case you didn't hear things at the top of the show, I'm going to be backstage, so no one else is going to be able to see me while you're telling your story. You have 5 minutes, and at 5 minutes, you're going to hear this sound. And that means that you have 5 minutes. After another 30 seconds, which is your grace period, they're going to bring me back up on screen with you, and that's how you know you need to wrap it up, okay?
Okay, when do I go up?
You can get started whenever you are ready.
Wait, this is not live?
No, it is live. All of the interwebs can see you right now.
Okay.
You, and they're as delighted as I am.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready, get started, and I am keeping time for you. Okay?
Okay. Let me just take 1 second to bring George up, because otherwise he will be whining in his.
Okay. I think we're gonna get a dog on screen, guys. I think we're gonna get a dog. Here comes a puppers.
Ow! Okay, now this will keep him quiet for a bit.
And also keep all of us delighted is what's going to happen. All right, Srilatha and George, is it?
George, yeah.
All right, you can get started whenever you are ready.
Okay, so I just wanted to, this is a story about how I officially became a foreigner. So like this was in the early 2000s. I had been, at that time, I had been in America for about 5 years. A lot of that was on an H-1 visa. And so I was, before, it was around, this was like right before and then after Y2K. And I was, during Y2K, obviously it was difficult to leave India. But after that, my H-1 visa had expired and the renewal didn't come through. So I spent a period of 6 years not able to go back to India to see my family. And those were literally like even when I go back and think about it, that was quite painful meaningful in many ways because I missed my dad's 60th birthday, which was an important thing. But also, when you spend that long out of the country, you start missing everything. Like I love my family, but I'm glad there was a distance between us, like most of the time. But during that period of 6 years, I missed them a lot. And I also missed food. Like, I was living in California at that time. And this was like in the early 2000s when like Indian food in California was there, but not so much like it is right now in the Bay Area. So I missed a lot of like Indian food. I missed the street food. I missed just like being happy. Like, food was such an important part of like, my culture growing up. And also like, going, like any celebration, I miss celebrating that with food. So 6 years later, when I was going to go to, when I got the visa, I was going to go to India to see newborn, my newborn niece. And I was going to be, my main purpose was to like name her. I was a paternal aunt, and my role was to be the first person to name her, and then to write her name in a tray filled with 9 grains right at the altar near God. So that was one of the biggest reasons I was going to India. But I also wanted to go for street food. So the day I was like, I literally sitting in the plane, I made a list of all the things I was going to eat. And the day I landed in Bangalore, Dad came to pick me up. We are going back home, and right near the apartment, I'm seeing a cart, like a street cart filled with like, delicious street food, like, pani puri and, ragda patties and like a whole lot of chaat items. And my heart is like palpitating. This is heaven. And I told my dad, I want to go and eat now. And Dad said, no, you have to go take a shower. Let's go home and take care of that first. And at home, after shower and resting, I decided to go out and eat. And then Dad said, you know what? You've spent too long abroad. This might not sit well with you. You might get a food infection. And I got so indignant. I was like, Dad, I grew up in this country. My blood is filled with, the food from here, and basically I reminded him that as a child, we used to live near this shop where this Bayaji used to make samosas, like authentic Punjabi samosas. They are the most delicious ones I've ever had to this date. And he used to be making them in a very unsanitary room, and the stall would be gross. And he would be every afternoon at 3 o'clock, he would be sitting and pounding the dough. He wouldn't wear underwear. So a lot of the time, his dick would sometimes be resting in the dough. So I had eaten dick samosa and nothing had happened to me. This is a body that was raised strong with dick samosa. So I told my dad, you know what, Dad, after that, I'm immune to everything. Nothing is ever going to happen to me. And I went and ate, and I had a good time in the stall. The next day, we were going to the temple with my baby niece to name her. We're all sitting in the car. The temple is 2 hours away. I'm dressed in like, traditional clothes, 3 layers of skirts, jewelry, and everything. And as I'm driving as we are driving, my body is feeling clammy and cold, and I'm starting to feel a little bit sick. My dad keeps looking at me, and he's like, are you okay? What is going on? And I'm like, I don't want to tell him I'm feeling sick. He should not be thinking he is right. So I'm like, I'm fine, Dad. And my body is cold by now, it's like cold. And as we reach the temple, we have to climb like 108 steps to reach the area where the ceremony is going to be held. And as I am we are walking half the steps, it's like a midday, and it's kind of a hot day. And I start feeling like, okay, I can't go up further. So I make an excuse, tell my dad I need to go and get something from the car. I told him I left a purse or something. I made some kind of an excuse, ran back, asked somebody at the temple, where is the toilet? And he says, no, we have an outhouse. And he points to a direction, a little bit farther away. I have to cross a courtyard, past a well. I go to the outhouse and I see that there is like no water. And I have to go to the well and get water. So I'm running back into the well as I'm bending down to get water from the well. Like Newton's third law, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So my bending over resulted in another thing happening. And I don't want to go too deep into this, but I'm so grateful I had all those layers of skirts on. So I had to dispose of some and cleanse myself. I rush back up the steps and I'm like kind of sweaty, but I'm feeling greatly relieved. And Dad looks at me and, he says nothing. He's just like kind of making an angry gesture that I'm late. So I'm sitting in front of God. holding my niece and naming her. I'm totally commando, but that's a secret that only God and I know. Now, a couple of days later, I'm like, I put one over dad. He doesn't know about the whole thing. Dad is cutting like mangoes at home, and he's eating the skin and just giving me the fruit. And I'm like, Dad, I like the skin as well. And Dad says, no, the skin contains a lot of impurities. And I said, Dad, you're eating the skin. He says, it's okay for me. You are now a foreigner. That's my story, guys. Thank you so much.
Wow. That was amazing. Also, please read the chat because the chat is going wild for your story. That was beautiful and just like super honest in the way that all of your stories are. One of my very, very most favorite things about you. And I love listening to your stories for that. So thank you, Srilatha. Also, it is so charming that you didn't even know that you were live when you first came on. That's my favorite. So thank you so much for being with us this evening. And thank you, George, also for being here. All right, y'all. So I think we are going to hop ourselves into intermission. We're going to have the last batch of storytellers join us after intermission. I think we'll be in intermission for about 5-ish minutes, something like that, at least until we have some folks backstage ready to go with their stories for you. So I encourage you to grab a drink, maybe some bubbling rosé like your girl got over here. Take a little potty break, do what you need to do, and we'll be back with you soon. Have a great intermission.
What an amazing first half that we've had. During our intermission, we're going to show a few short videos, Massmouth minutes, some stories from longtime Massmouth participants about what Massmouth means to them, just to kind of, wrap up this end of an era that we're going to be in. Nora let me know backstage that Massmouth has been doing shows at Passim for 9 years. So for 9 years, every month we would have a Massmouth slam or one of their showcase nights, showcasing the students from their workshops that they do. So it's been a great run, and we want to show off a few thoughts from folks that have been touched by Massmouth. So I'm going to play a few of those, and then we'll be back from intermission.
First slam back at Doyle's Cafe in 2012. I walked in, I was there by myself, I sat at a table by myself, and there was a bunch of space, and so a bunch of people started to sit with me, asking first, of course, but a bunch of people started to sit with me. And it turned out to be a whole bunch of storytellers who sat down with me, sort of regulars. And one teller who will remain nameless, he knows who he is, sat down, and someone asked him if he was going to tell a story that day, and he took hold of his very heavy hair and lifted it and moved it over his shoulder, and he said, I'm just too artistically exhausted to tell a story today. And I was like, I am not cool enough to hang out with these kids. I don't even know what it means to be artistically exhausted. But I mean, I think every storyteller who was at that slam that night is now someone that I consider a friend, that guy included. And that's what Massmouth is for me. It's just like a big group of friends, and Massmouth as an institution can end, but these friendships will endure.
I remember the first time that I came to Massmouth, I had never told a story on stage before in my life. I just saw a flyer at a coffee shop, showed up, was crazy nervous, even up until the last moment, didn't think I was going to actually go through it and tell the story, but I did, and it was an amazing rush, and so many people came up and were so supportive to me. And from that moment on, I was hooked, and was just going to one Massmouth slam after the next to, listen to other people, how they did it, and to keep trying myself. And Long story short, a couple years later, I became part of the leadership of Massmouth and was able to work with so many amazing volunteers over the years to help make these shows happen and to get to see brand new storytellers come on and do their thing. It's been an incredible ride. Thanks so much to all of you for being a part of it.
Two and a half years ago, I stepped into Club Passim for the first time to volunteer at Massmouth's Story Slam, and I was hooked. And in that 2.5 years, I tried to tell a story at Passim and lost my train of thought halfway through. Volunteered at Trident, told a story on a whim at Trident and won a slam, and then lost my train of thought halfway through the quarterfinal round leading up to the Big Mouth Off. I also joined the board of the organization, and I am just so grateful for the exposure to new people and a new expression of art and the community in the Cambridge, Boston area that comes together to share these stories that are so deeply personal, but mean so much.
So I met Nora Dooley 10 years ago when she and Andrea just started forming Massmouth, maybe more than 10 years ago. And she asked me to come and tell a story at Kennedy's Pub downtown. I never told a story from a microphone before. I didn't know anything about it, but I caught the bug, just like many of you who've been in this community all this time. And I wanted to be a producer of shows and bring it to more people. And so my relationship with them began, and we started out at Bella Luna in a very small room and immediately sold out, and the room was packed. So I looked for another location and found Doyle's, the back room of Doyle's. Thank God for Jerry Burke. That room was a home to us, as you can see by these pictures, for many years. I want to say 5 or 6 years, monthly story slams. And it's such a powerful medium for people to feel connected and heard. And for me, it was personally very, very therapeutic in that when it first came into my life, everything in my life was falling apart. And I mean everything. And I found such sustenance from that community and such power that I threw my heart and soul into it. It was a lot of work producing those shows, but it was so much fun. And it's hard to believe that now Bella Luna is gone, Doyle's is gone, and now Massmouth is gone. And if I think about it too much, I'll start to cry. So I won't. I would just say that we cannot lose this art form of storytelling. We cannot lose this community connection that is so powerful. There's a lot of people who feel isolated and lonely, and storytelling is where they feel heard and connected and part of something bigger than themselves. They also learn that they're not alone in their suffering. We all experience universal emotions, frustration, loneliness, sadness, joy. And through our unique story experiences, we connect with each other. So I do hope that this just means we're going to transform our community into something broader, bigger, better. Maybe we reach across the globe now because everything's virtual. So I hope that we will find a way to regroup. And I love you all so much, and I am so grateful for all the memories we've had.
And those were a few words from folks who got a lot out of being involved in the Massmouth community. And it really was a community that moved around to all these places, to Passim and Trident and other folks. We're at Passim, we're glad to have been able to partner with another nonprofit like Massmouth. I just want to mention that Passim has recently started an open mic series on every Tuesday. So starting next Tuesday, every Tuesday, we're going to have a virtual open mic. And while we are mainly a music open mic, we're also open to poetry, to storytelling, to slam. So if you are interested and you're now looking for an outlet to tell your stories, then you might check out the Passim open mic on every Tuesday. Thanks for coming to the show, and thanks for sticking around. We've had over 100 people watching for this whole show, and we're only halfway through. So to lead us into the second half, I'm going to kick things back over to our host, Teresa.
Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everybody. I hope you enjoyed your intermission and enjoyed those Massmouth minutes. I know that I've been enjoying watching them on social media over the last couple of weeks and practicing not crying when I watch them so that I would be able to do this show with all of you this evening without crying. Although I know that I have some friends, cough, cough, Janelle Codiani, who would love for me to cry on camera, but I'm going to not do that. Alrighty. I think we are ready to go with our first storyteller of the second half, who was originally called in the first half, but I believe they are ready to go here with us in the second half, and that is Pam. Pam, how are you?
Hi. Somehow or another, I'm getting audio from earlier. I don't know how to turn it off.
Okay. Can we hold Pam down for one moment? Okay, awesome. Pam, I think what you need to do is to mute your audio on the YouTube. So close everything except for the link that you were sent in email. Close everything that you have open on your computer except for the link that you have on StreamYard, and then you should not have an echo anymore. So, I mean, we're all in these Zoom lands, you know what I mean? Like, we're all just learning how to use the Zoom. We are building this bus while driving it.
I'm having trouble hearing.
I think Pam is still going to have a little bit of difficulty, so maybe we can have Abby, our wonderful, amazing person from Passim and tech person, help Pam backstage, and then we are going to go ahead and bring up the next storyteller, who I believe is going to be Robin. Robin, are you back here with us and ready to go?
Yes.
Hi, Robin. Who's behind you? That just did a body drop.
That's Violet. Hi. I'm putting my headset on.
Robin, where are you joining us from this evening?
My home office. COVID home office.
Well, wonderful. Home office in which state, though? I feel like you live in more than one state.
I just spend the winter in Florida, but people keep thinking that I don't know. People forget that, and they think I'm gone all the time. Just the winter, just the rough months. Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I aspire to be a lady like you who winters in Florida. But for now, what I'm going to do is hop backstage and keep time for you. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pretend that backstage is Florida. So you've got 5 minutes. I'll ding my little champagne flute when you get to 5, and then I'll pop on screen with you at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Does that sound all right?
Okay. There's nothing else I need to know, right?
Nope. That's it.
Okay, fantastic.
Do you know what the sound of my champagne flute sounds like, or do you want to hear it?
Yeah, let me hear it just so I know for sure.
Let me show you. Because you know I have a lot of really beautiful glassware in my home that I'm happy to demonstrate for everyone. That's what you're going to hear. Okay?
That's awesome.
So here I go backstage, and you can get started whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to have my name pulled from the hat. This subject is actually one that's near and dear to my heart. Just ignore the redness of my face. I had some old lady skin cells sloughed off today. So, you know, this is what you do when you're 55 because you're trying to avoid change. Hey, which isn't really possible. It's never possible. Change is the one thing, the only thing we can all count on. And when I think about the change in my life, it can practically overwhelm me, particularly the last
9 years and all that's transpired with not only my own life, but Massmouth in regard to my life. So starting when my childhood was very embroiled in change by having two very disorganized teenage parents raise me. I went to 8 different elementary schools and 4 different junior high schools. I remember coming home and not even being told we're moving, just seeing a moving truck and the house was empty and crying and saying, hey, I don't want to leave my friends. And my dad saying, you'll make new friends. So I developed a personality that was quite adaptive and resilient. But that being said, we don't always like change, right? Like I remember looking down in horror when I was on the swing set and seeing black curly hairs coming out of my armpit and having a panic attack and realizing that that was all changing. My way of coping with that change was to put blinders on. I literally stopped looking at my body. Well, you can imagine how that worked out. By the time I looked at it, I had a full, let's just say, bush going on, and I screamed in horror. So it's better, I think, to let the change gradually happen than ignore it and face it later. I alluded to a time in my life that was full of a lot of change when I came into Massmouth 9 years ago. And basically, I had a home in foreclosure. I had a husband, and now my ex-husband, who had buried me in debt. I mean, he put all the debt only in my name, not in his name. And he walked away from everything. I had to file bankruptcy. I had to quit working in a job I was very successful in real estate because I didn't want to cavort with him, and I just didn't have the stomach for it. I never really wanted to do it anyway, frankly, but I was good at it and I got trapped in it, which is a lesson to all of you out there. It is a trap when you're good at something and you don't love it. So be careful of that. But I found myself with 2 a tween and a teen daughter, and about to lose the house and having no safety net whatsoever. Because remember, I mentioned I had irresponsible teenage parents. So no safety net whatsoever. And I didn't know what to do with myself. I was out of my mind. And for some reason, I submitted a script to Expressing Motherhood and it got accepted. And I didn't know, I'd never performed before. I'd never done anything before, and I was paralyzed with fear. So I went to this meetup group, which is just where I met Nora Dooley, just to practice, just to learn how to tell a story. And Nora said, Robin, you're a storyteller. And then I met Andrea, and I got sucked in to Massmouth. And I can tell you that all the chaos, all the tragedies, all of the things that feel like when you're in them, like, because we're in one right now, let's face it, we're in a place right now where it feels like, where is the end? Where is the light at the end of this tunnel? And every new day has new challenges. Storytelling is your go-to. You know that you're creating stories, and knowing that you have a place to tell stories is what gets you through it, even though when it's very, very bad. And so going into the storytelling community, I was able to share stories from my childhood and make new friends, but not just make new friends, make deep, meaningful relationships with authentic experiences that people could relate to and bond over. And you guys know from when I hosted, I never got over the magic of it. I never got over the magic of watching someone who had never told before share a really deep, poignant, moving story, or reveal something, some of their pain or hurt, or, or mix up the hurt with the funny. That was always so amazing. And I really benefited a lot from that as well. And I got through that time where everything, I had the trifecta: bankruptcy, foreclosure, and divorce. And I had 2 teenage daughters, which, if you've heard my Expressing Motherhood piece, I called them my abusers, because that's what teenage girls are. And that's it. So how did I get through it? I got through it by sharing those experiences, trusting the listeners to resonate and validate for me. And I love you all so much. And I really hope that we can, like Teresa said at the beginning, something great's got to happen as a result of all this. And thank you for giving me a chance to tell once again.
Robin, thank you so much.
I'm not going to cry.
I know.
I made it. And when you pulled Paula Junn's name, I almost burst into tears. I was like,
it is kismet and beautiful and perfect, but so is having you here, Robin. I mean, I'll speak personally for myself that your involvement with Massmouth, I have learned so much from you about storytelling. I've learned about hosting from you, and yeah, I'm really, really glad and lucky to know you. And I also want you to know that the first story slam that I ever took my mom to was a slam that you were hosting and that I was roadie for over at Doyle's. And at one point during that slam, you were like, isn't this fun? Isn't this more fun than staying home and watching TV? And like, you know, when a host says something, people are just like, they clap or whatever. And my mom, this very quiet Midwestern woman, yelled out, "This is more fun than TV."
That's awesome.
It was so amazing. I'm pretty sure my mom is watching right now, because one of the magical things about our current Zoom times is that everybody around the country gets to tune in. So,
well, your mom did a fantastic job. You've been invaluable to the community, and including helping me with expressing motherhood as well.
Oh, well, thank you. And my mom also bought this dress for me, so she is.
It's very Florida.
In many ways. Once again, Robin, thank you so much for your story, and really thank you for existing. You're
you
great.
too.
We're all lucky to have you.
Thank you so much.
I think we are ready with our next storyteller, who is going to be Pam. I've heard backstage that Pam is ready. Pam, let's hear you.
Okay.
Pam, you sound amazing. You sound great and perfect.
Good. This techno stuff, it took me a real long time in March to be able to get anywhere with it, but I got it.
Don't worry about it. You're doing great. You look wonderful, and we're happy to have you. I'm going to pop backstage. I will be keeping time for you, and you'll hear me ding my champagne flute when you hit 5 minutes, okay?
Sounds good, Teresa.
Wonderful. Start whenever you're ready.
Well, change. A lot of people, the stories, you know, it's like the come to Jesus moments, you know. I came to Jesus and everything changed. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are some more of these kinds of come to Jesus stories that will follow this one. However, I find that there are other ways that change happens. Yes, the come to Jesus, you know, when you get that feeling and you go, yep, and things change. And then there's one change that I'm doing right now, which is dealing with my sugar addiction. I'm on day 40, something like that. And this is change and more difficult. The third kind of change that I want to talk about, which is, for me, the most important one, is the changes that sneak up on you that you don't know that you're changing until much later, when you look back and you say, things are very different now. The first moment that I had with this was once when I was camping in Maine along the East Machias River, and it's this sort of unofficial kind of place to camp, and there I was, and I'm used to setting up on my own, and I was doing that, and a younger couple came in, and they were setting up next to me, and they said, "Can we get you some wood for your fire?" And I immediately went into, I couldn't get my own wood. However, I didn't say that. And what I realized was, I got white hair. They're thinking me an old lady, and they want to help me. So I said, sure, great, get me some wood, which is wonderful. The change that I want to talk about now is an interesting one. I have had a history of depression all of my life, like all of my life. And last year at this time, I was really lucky to get out of bed. I mean, really lucky to make it out of bed. And I was seriously depressed. Some medication didn't help a little bit, etc. Had a friend that would stay with me every once in a while, and he would come into the room and say, "Are you up? Are you up?" And sometimes I, because he came in, I'd get up. Well, this depression started last summer, this spell, and kept on going and kept on going. And of course, November is a horrible time, and kept on going and sort of kept on going. And then Corona hit, and it was like, oh man, what's going on here? And then I have to tell you, here it is. I'm in July, and I realize that I've been getting up out of bed ever since more or less April. And I find that for myself, when I'm presented with a challenge, with something that's like, oh boy, this is going to be difficult, I rise to it. I just do it. So I've been getting up and getting out of bed and doing stuff around the house. The house never looks so good, I can tell you that. And, it's like, for me, I look back and I say, I changed. I did that. I am changed. And of course, the thing right now, friends, is this marvelous change out of depression because I've got something to do, some challenge. Is this permanent? Is this a real change? It's like the sugar addiction. Real change? Maybe. Maybe not. As they say, the only thing that's really permanent is change. So we'll see how this goes. Talk to me next year, and we'll see how this has gone. Thank you.
Pam, thank you so much. That was a really moving and really honest and touching story. And I'm glad that you're here with us, and I'm glad that you're getting out of bed. So thank you for your story.
You're welcome.
This change continues for you.
Yeah, well, change continues for all of us. We don't have any choice about that, I don't think.
Yes, like you said, that is the one constant, right? That is the one constant. All righty. So I want to remind all of our storytellers this evening, and all of the folks who are joining us here, that if you had put your name in the hat and you have not been called, I think we have all three of our next storytellers with us backstage. So I think we are set for the evening. But if you wanted to tell a story, or you put in to tell a story and didn't get called, or even if like just something came to you throughout the time that you were listening with us this evening, please record your story and then share it on your social media, like share it on your Facebook or share it on your Instagram or your YouTube or whatever, and tag Massmouth in it. And then we will reshare it. We really want to be continuing to promote the timeless art of storytelling, as Massmouth always has. So please continue to share your story. And as Massmouth is closing our social media, we want to close out with sharing all of your voices. Alrighty, I think we are ready for our next storyteller, who I believe is Andrea. Andrea, are you back here? Hi, Andrea.
Wait a minute. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you?
Hey. Okay, it's so good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Not really pleased to hear about that move, but
it's only an hour away. I mean, you won't even know. You won't even
you know what? You were already an hour away in traffic, so I guess I could get used to it.
You won't even know. I'll still be around just as much as always, you know. Alrighty, I'm gonna hop backstage, and you can get started whenever you're ready. You will hear me ding my champagne flute at 5 minutes.
trying to figure out where my eyes are going here.
Who cares? Don't worry about it. Just look at the screen. You're good.
All right. I'll just look
All right,
vaguely at the
start whenever
screen.
you're ready.
Okay, so I was not planning on telling a story to the point where I did not even look up what the theme was. So when I saw the theme tonight, I said, oh, I have a change story. And then when I heard that amazing Indian story, I changed my change story again. So the only really good thing I can say that I've experienced so far from the pandemic is I got to participate in a storytelling festival out of Mumbai, India, on pretty much no notice. It was a festival that traveled from Singapore to California, and it went on all day, and we were supposed to come in during the American times. But I went on early, and it was a festival for destigmatizing menstruation. And I got to hear the Indian tellers when I was the only American in the bunch. And I got to hear about all these different customs and all these taboos and rules about phys ed and picking fruit and not going into the kitchen and not going into the temple, things that I had never heard before. And yet I had experienced some version of all of them before. And the story that I thought I was telling for that festival was a story about keeping tradition. But what I discovered during the festival was that the one tradition we all had in common was change. And the Indian tellers who I heard in the morning knew that they were making change. I didn't know it when I did it. In the Jewish tradition, mikvah is the word for the ritual bath taken by women to mark the end of their period and the end of the traditional restrictions that come with it. The most salient of those is no longer relevant. It has to do with the rituals that were performed in the central holy temple. Certain people couldn't perform them until they went to the mikvah and they dunked naked in its waters. This was people who had contact with dead bodies or certain emissions or priests, mothers after giving birth, and after menstruation. But it wasn't just that you couldn't go to the temple, you couldn't have sex. So long after the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, everywhere in the world that the Jews were dispersed, we kept building mikvaot to the ancient specifications, allowing them to fill with natural water from rains or springs or snow, counting the days after our periods, and then going naked into what's called the living waters. And you're supposed to emerge renewed. Mikvah is used to mark life transitions, also like converting to Judaism. And the first time I did it was as a 21-year-old bride before my wedding. From that time, I kept tradition. And then I broke my foot. I broke my foot stepping off a curb at a 3-year-old's birthday party. Not even my 3-year-old. Not the coolest way to break a foot. First thing, I tripped over a curb. I fell down. Then came the anxious faces peering over me. Are you okay? Are you okay? Of course I was okay. Was I some kind of fragile, middle-aged? Whoa. I never got to articulate my righteous indignation because when I tried to stand up, my ankle swelled to blue, which is a not okay color on a person. My stomach churned with not okayness, and there was a big not okay where my brain should have been. I was at a child's birthday party, though, so the parents whipped out those diaper bags and came to my rescue with painkillers and fever reducers and snap-open ice packs and blow-up camping pillows. But the biggest thing that happened was days later, after the x-ray and the diagnosis and the plan for 9 months to a year of recovery, because I was apparently a middle-aged woman, I discovered that what I fell out of wasn't just the curb between the playground and the picnic tables, but the bounds of my comfortable existence within orthodoxy. 2 days later was my mikvah night. I kept tradition, and per tradition, I went to mikvah after my period which meant every month minus 5 pregnancies and things that happen with bodies for decades. Orthodox mikvaot in Boston, in Cleveland, in New York, in Talpiot, in Harnof, Israel, when I couldn't get to a mikvah in a natural stream, a river, a pond. I had gone when my night had fallen on my Sabbath and when it had fallen on my festivals. But I couldn't figure out how to do it this time. How I get up the stairs into the building, how I get in and out of the pool, all the ways that I'd have to navigate my new body with my old routines. The worst was that the ritual was supposed to be performed at night, and it was summer in Boston, which means Jewish night is about 9 p.m. nowadays. Injured person night is like 3 or 4 p.m. It wasn't even that I asked and was rejected. I didn't even ask. But there was another mikveh in town. It wasn't Orthodox. It was what they called a community mikveh. A visionary woman decided to change the current system where some people went really faithfully and most didn't go at all, by welcoming in all the people who wanted to connect in all the ways that they wanted to connect. It was used for all kinds of transitions, not just for menstruation. It had an art gallery and it hosted learning events and celebrations. And it wasn't your usual mikveh building that slouches in a dark corner just for the people who know it's there. It was open and out and proud. And it was called Mayim Chaim, which means the living waters. I'm just checking the time. So I went online, and just as I had been told, Mayim Chaim had daytime slots, no question, no stairs, no rim to climb over into the all-access shower. I didn't even have to wrangle my arms into a heavy terry cloth robe.
Go ahead, wrap up, Andrea. Go ahead.
All right. So I went to this all-access mikveh where trans women and LGBT women and women in henna and women with all of their hair and all of their products were able to go. And when I stepped out of that mikveh, I realized that I didn't have to step back into the old boundaries that I had been in after my ankle healed. I could exist in a new community that had welcomed me injured, that welcomed me healed, and that welcomed all of the people who considered themselves my sisters into those waters.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And that community, I mean, not to be too on the nose and sentimental, but that community sounds a lot like how I feel like about this storytelling community, that we just are like, come here with your broken, come here with your whole, just come, you know? So thank you so much for sharing that story. I want you to know that I saw Julie Baker in the chat talking about how she wishes that she could participate in a storytelling conference about menstruation, and I do too. So
I could send you information because it's going to be an annual festival.
Like anytime you want to make that happen, like let's get on this. let's do that here. We can do that here. Yeah. Thank you so much, Andrea, for that story, and thank you for being with us this evening. It's a delight to see you as always.
Good to see you.
Alrighty, so we are going to bring up our next storyteller, and that is Linda. Linda, are you here? Hi, Linda.
Who?
Hello.
Ooh, I like your skylight. It's lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm just so honored and delighted to be here tonight. You know, I am relatively new to Massmouth compared to so many here, and like you said, classes and my first slam, I guess, at Passim just over a year ago. So it's great. It's a bittersweet time. It's a bittersweet time to say goodbye, but like you, something else will happen for us.
Exactly. Well, we're glad to have you. I'm glad to have you here with us this evening, and I'm excited to hear your story. I'm going to go ahead and pop backstage. I will be keeping time for you, and you will hear me ding my champagne flute when you hit 5 minutes, okay?
Okay.
All right. Start whenever you're ready.
Okay. So I'm walking down Newbury Street, gazing in the shop windows, and I see this older woman just ahead of me, and then I stop, and I still see her reflection, and oh my God, I realize it's me. When did I get so old? I mean, I don't know. I think it was a gift at my birth that I was the baby of the family, and I was the youngest in the grade. So when everybody got older and they were dreading some big milestone birthday, it just didn't faze me because I was younger. But later that night, I'm in my 2-room attic apartment in the suburbs, and I am feeling sorry for myself. I am just divorced and single again. I have a dent in one of my breasts from cancer surgery, and I am in my mid-50s. I'm full of self-hatred. I mean, how did I get here? Who is going to want me? But I did not want to be alone. So I get out I get on the dating app, and I felt like I had no choice. I had to lie. And I took 4 years off of my age. And then I really got out there. I learned how to sail. I learned how to swing dance. I read a lot of Pema Chodron. She's this Buddhist nun. I am lovable. I am good enough. But oh my God, online dating in your 50s. I remember George. I loved reading his profile until I got to the part that said, message me if you're under 40. Then there was Lyle. Lyle was tall and sexy, and we went out for a while, and then he started trying to borrow money from me, and when we stopped going out, he was stalking me. Ugh. Then Stuart. We had a great time talking on the phone a lot, and we decided to go meet for the coffee. I'm going into Panera. I look around. I don't see him. And then it's like, oh crap, that guy over there kind of looks like him, but this could be Stuart's father. His pictures were so out of date. And of course I justified my lie because at least my pictures were current. Well, this was my dating life. This happened like 15 times over. Well, actually there was only one stalker. I was so disillusioned, and I didn't like lying. I thought I wanted to trust the men that I would see, that I would go out with, and I just didn't like not being honest, but I was not ready to be truthful about my age, so I thought I'm just going to take my profile down until I am ready, and I'll go to meetups, which is you don't have to give your age. And that was working really great until it was maybe early fall, and I was 6 weeks away from probably the most dreaded milestone birthday that I could imagine. And I'm saying, Linda, whether you like it or not, November 28th, you are going to be 60. And the only way I was going to get through this is to have a big party. So now I'm standing in my friend Deborah's house in her front foyer. It's my party. And I am looking out amongst maybe 25 of my most beloved family and friends. I see Richard and Jerry wearing their tuxedos because I had asked for the attire to be formal. And I see Mike and Janet. They had driven down from Vermont, and they're standing near the punch bowl where they had squeezed maybe 50 limes because cosmopolitans were my favorite drink. And we are dancing the night away to this mix that my two 20-something boys put together that included swing dance. Oh yeah, and they brought the weed. Oh, the outpouring of love that night. I mean, it seeped into every bone in my body, and it changed me. I found self-acceptance. I was able to lose my own ageism. So one night I'm home, I'm back on the app, and I'm like, I am ready to be truthful. And I get online and I put my correct age in there. And that night I go out to a meetup. It was a Latin band in Harvard Square, and people are chatting, and ended up talking to this guy. I think his name was Mark, and he was cute and soft-spoken, and he didn't ask for my number, and I was disappointed, but you know, it was okay. I'm gonna be fine. So, you know, I go home and I get up the next morning and there's some messages, and I see this one profile. The guy's 63. He doesn't have a dog on his main profile picture, and he sails, he dances. Wait a minute. This is Mark. This is Mark, the guy I met last night at the meetup. I open his message. Dear Linda, I was so glad to find and read your profile this morning. When we met last night, I thought you were too young for me. Oh, I knew this 60-year-old body, mind, and soul was going to be just fine. And I was going to give that Mark man a chance. Thank you.
I was so excited that I forgot to take myself off mute. That was a wonderful story. Also, my roommate wants to know if you guys are married.
Oh, we're together. We're not married.
I love it. Unconventional relationships. Hooray! Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And also thank you deeply for giving me hope. That story was wonderful and beautiful and amazing. And I'm delighted that you found the happiness that you were looking for in whatever form that was. So thank you for that story, Linda.
Thank you. And thank you. You're hosting, you and Cheryl. This is a fabulous event. And I'm so grateful to Massmouth. I will miss you all and have a wonderful time. I think Providence is a great place.
Oh, thank you.
Great place. So I know it'll be great for you. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I want everyone to remember, I mean, yes, certainly Massmouth is coming to a close, but there's been plenty of folks reminding us in the chat that there is still live storytelling happening in Boston. And the thing that unites us is not only, I mean, yes, Massmouth is an institution that is like, I can't say enough about it. Like truly so much of my life in Boston is Massmouth. But the thing that really unites us, the thread that really connects us is these stories. And the stories are what help create these friendships, you know, these friendships that are going to endure. So we're all still here. None of us are going anywhere. We're all still going to be telling stories. We're all living in Zoom land anyways right now, so it doesn't matter where we're living. As Bart was saying in the chat, you know, there's Now Listen Here that has shows in regular times in Dorchester, in current times on the Zooms, and you can attend that as well. That's still local live storytelling happening right here in Boston. There is South Shore Slam, there is Story Club Boston, there's all kinds of things. So I expect to see each and every one of you on these Zooms and at the venues when the world opens up again. In the meantime, I'm going to bring up Cheryl Hamilton.
Hi, I'm back.
Message for me. Hi, Cheryl. How are you?
You're doing great, Teresa. Thank you.
You are also doing great.
Thanks. All right, so I'm going to say a few words, and then Teresa is going to introduce our last teller. So I'll just say right off the bat that this has been so much fun, and I keep thinking about how there are many times I've had really bad days, right? I know other people have said this, and I always, even on the days that I was like, oh God, I signed up to volunteer at Massmouth tonight, I'm tired, I'd go and I'd always feel better. I would always feel energized, and I feel that way tonight. I was nervous coming in tonight, as you can imagine, as a bittersweet moment as an institution, and I am mostly smiling. I'm not gonna lie, I'm also like, oh, but it's so nice to see the chat blow up. It's so nice to hear these stories, and I just wanna thank you. But this is the moment we have to say a few words about Massmouth. It's kind of like ripping off the Band-Aid fast. So I also worried it's going to sound like an Oscar speech when like they go on and on about names, but I am only one name of many, and I do want to mention a few, and I want to say up front there are many more. I just know that I have less than 5 minutes. But first and foremost, we have to thank the founders. 10 years ago, as Nora said, they put together an amazing organization. It was Andrea and Nora and Stu and Doria. I'm going to stick with first names because we have a long night. And I just want to thank you. Like, I want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. It is why in 2015, when they were thinking about shutting down, 4 of us said, please don't do that, because we had just discovered Massmouth and we didn't want it to end. And so it is just, that is how we had a transition or a change of leadership, which included our wonderful Teresa, who, by the way, there are so many moments I will remember with her, but none more than after the big mouth off a couple years ago when she learned that she was going to host the national television show Stories from the Stage. I think we screamed together. I think she said, "You've got to be kidding." But it was an amazing moment, and it speaks to just how far Massmouth has taken some people. So congratulations, Teresa. But in that first year of 2015, it was myself, it was Teresa, it was Dan Dahari and HR Britton that were like, well, we'll see how this goes. And that led to now, with many more board members. I'm just going to give a shout out to Peter and Chris and Srilatha and Heather and Sonia and Ben and Justin and Jay and Ajay. They have made it possible to sign the paperwork, to come up with ideas, to find ways to fund what we do, and mostly to support myself and the other volunteers that also have tried really hard to keep this going. She's not here tonight, which is tragic, although ironically, she's at a class about memoir writing, is Katie Leisner. And I know that my name is often associated as the director, but I think the truth is there was 2. And Katie Leisner served many years as the board president. She and I had midnight calls, morning calls, texts all day long to keep some of the stuff moving. And if you know my backstory with Katie Leisner, it's that she was one of the first tellers I saw in Boston. I put a Facebook post immediately on my Facebook that said, if I'm ever half as good as this woman, I will be happy as a storyteller. And in my personal life, she's become a friend. She officiated my wedding. And the last event I went to before the pandemic was her wedding. And so if it were not for Massmouth, we would not have met. And I'm eternally grateful. And she's a remarkable person, writer, storyteller. So if you see Katie online or in person, please say a big, huge thank you to her. There have been many producers, many volunteers. I'm just going to give a shout out to the ones that like jumped in whenever I was like, oh my God, I need help. In the last year, which was Devin and Julie and Anna and Jesse and Linda and Chris and Matthew, and most recently Harold Cox. We do a show called Stories to Scene with Riot Improv. That is this cool mashup where people tell stories and then the improv acts them out. And we didn't know if we had someone that could step up to that leadership, and Harold did so kindly, and he is actually going to continue. So Massmouth, again, the name may be ending, but the work is continuing, and thank you, Harold, for volunteering to do that. And thank you to Joe Gels for his ongoing leadership in their program. It is so much fun. Go check it out in Rosendale, which is Teresa's favorite city, by the way. I want to also thank our partners. So Club Passim, we can't wait till you open again. Thank you for being our host every 3rd Monday of the night, including tonight. Thank you to Trident for the 2nd Tuesday of every night. We love the food there. We love the venue. We're so glad you survived the fire. It was awesome. Thank you to WGBH. So 8 years ago, they offered us a live storytelling show, and we were like, sure, we'll try it out. And the day I got a call from WGBH saying, how do you feel about a national television show? I literally hung up. I called Katie and I bust out laughing. World Channel had offered us this scrappy little nonprofit, a national show, and we thought, why not? Everything that comes out of Massmouth has been organic, and it's going to enter its 4th season. It is continuing, so don't worry. Myself is going to be involved and other folks, so don't worry. We're going to keep getting your voices out there, even if it's not through technically Massmouth. And then, you know, all the hosts, all the volunteers, not going to cry. But most importantly, all of you. I really wish I was in the room right now with all of you. Thank you for the stories. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making a room feel alive. I wish we could all be clapping right now together. You are incredible community to me and to everybody else. And if you watch these Massmouth minutes that are growing around, like, try not to cry. But seriously, Massmouth has always said in our mission that we are first and foremost a community, and secondly, we also promote storytelling. And I know it sounds weird because really it's the other way around written, but I really think that's who we are. We are a community. And Nora Dooley forever has said that one good story calls another. And I am very confident that although our story is ending, there are many stories to come, and many of you are going to lead the way. And I just want to say, on behalf of the board, the volunteers, everybody, a sincere thank you.
Cheryl, you did it.
Yeah, now I got mine.
With a big gulp.
Yep. I thought I was going off screen, damn it.
Thank you, Cheryl. And yeah, you're totally right. I mean, there's so many people that make Massmouth possible. And there's, the folks that our faces are in front, and then there's like everybody else. And there is a lot of everybody.
A lot of people.
Yeah. So thank you for all of those call outs. I asked some folks to remind us of local storytelling shows that are continuing to happen. Like I said, there is Now Listen Here. There is Story Club Boston as well, which I believe is based also in Rosendale, which if you didn't hear Cheryl mention is the best neighborhood in the city of Boston. And there is also, I'm finding it here in the chat, there is the Story Space, which is every Tuesday from 6:45 until 9 p.m. You get 8 minutes for essentially like an open mic telling. And then I think at least in the before times, they also did feature tellers at the end of the show. But Story Space is an amazing show that's been around for, I don't even know how long, a very, very long time. So I definitely encourage you all to check that out as well. I am going to go ahead and bring up our last storyteller of the evening. And it feels like chef's kiss, perfect, that storyteller is the one and only Paula Judd. Paula, how are you? Oh, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Only a little bit. Like, can you stand closer to your microphone, maybe?
Let's see.
Also, your hair looks great. You look wonderful.
Thank you. How about now?
Yes, that is perfect. That is perfect.
Yay.
Paula, tell us where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Oakland, California.
Oakland, California. We are coast to coast, folks. Paula, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, I think it is perfect that you are our last storyteller this evening. I'm going to go ahead and hop backstage, and you'll hear me on my champagne flute when you hit 5 minutes. Okay? I will keep time for you.
Thank you. So I moved to Boston in 2006 to pursue the career of becoming an expressive arts therapist. I went through the undergrad, and I wanted to become a therapist because I always knew I found joy in helping people. And I finished my undergrad in that field, and then I entered grad school, and that's when I was confronted with the idea, maybe not, like this is maybe not the path I really want to go on. So I was really close with the internship coordinator at Lesley University in Cambridge. And she mentioned to me one day that this small nonprofit is looking for an intern to work there. And I wasn't an undergrad anymore, so I wasn't gonna be like qualified somehow, but pulled some strings, and there I met Nora Dooley. I was the intern that did press releases and like small little jobs here and there. And I didn't even know that storytelling was a thing, honestly. I was just, I knew people told stories, but I didn't know storytelling was an actual entertainment possibility that people went to. And I started going to the events, and I fell in love. It was electrifying, and I love taking pictures of all the storytellers. My most favorite thing was capturing the moment of the story, the quintessential moment, in like just phrase frame, and sharing that with others or Facebook or whatever. And during that time that I got involved in 2010. And then fast forward, happy 4 years until 2014. I got involved more and more and more. And Nora always said, like, one of our taglines was, if you have a life, you have a story. And it became, it changed my perspective that, like, you don't have to be special to be a storyteller. If you have a life, you have a story. If you tell that story, you're a storyteller. And I went through a transformation. I was this person who lost her identity as, you know, an aspiring therapist to one who recognized that storytelling or therapy is a type of storytelling. And I gained my confidence. I started telling stories on stage. Granted, I was mainly a filler. So to encourage people in the audience, to encourage them to get on stage, because you can tell a better story than me. If I can tell it, you can tell it. So I told many, many stories, but it became part of me. And after 4 years, I decided that I wanted to do something for myself. And I had full intention of coming back to Boston, but I moved to Oakland to pursue an MFA, a Master of Fine Arts, in San Francisco. And here I've kind of adopted the idea that I'm a storyteller because I tell stories and I have a life and I tell that story. And I'm so sad that Massmouth is closing its doors. And I'm forever grateful to all the folks, especially Nora, that I've met and crossed paths with in Boston. But I'm looking forward to seeing the ripple effect of what this will bring. Like Teresa mentioned, like, great art comes out of great hardship. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with all of you somewhere, somehow. And really, thank you from the deepest part of my soul. Thank you, Massmouth.
Paula, I love you so much.
I love you. I miss you.
I miss you too. I miss you too. But I love that I get to continue to be connected with you online and connected with your amazing art and your amazing jewelry, which is just ridiculously beautiful. A lot like the creator. So thank you so much for being here. There was someone in the chat who said that they knew Massmouth through your photos long before they knew who you were.
Oh, wow.
That is like, that's just how, now I'm really going to cry. That is like how essential you are to this organization. I mean, you really are. And there's so many people. And also, like, how very dare you say that you were only a filler story?
It's true, though. It's so true. I was never ready to tell a story. Not even tonight. I was never ready to tell a story on stage. It was only when there weren't enough names in the hat that I was encouraged to go on stage to tell some kind of throwaway story to encourage others to come on stage and shine.
You were born ready. You must have been born ready because you never had to get ready. Your stories were always great. And also, Paula, I want you to know one of my favorite memories with you is we were both featured in some show. I don't remember where it was. It was a small venue with like 5 feature tellers, and the theme was on practice, I think. And you told a story about like playing the violin, I believe, or what instrument is it? Do you play an instrument?
I don't play the violin.
Did you play an instrument at some point?
I sang.
I don't. Maybe it was singing. You did. You told a story, and someone came up to me after the story and was like talking to me about your story, and I was like, "That wasn't me." That's the other person of color in the room, and we're not even the same color. So, oh boy. Oh, the memories. Oh, the memories.
Good times.
Well,
Good times.
thank you so much for being here, Paula. And thank you all of the storytellers, for joining us this evening. I wanted to call out, let me bring it up on my phone here. I wanted to call out 2 other local storytelling shows, Delivered, which is an annual show that will be back. And that is a lot of stories about birth. And you don't have to be a person who's given birth or witnessed birth or intends to give birth in order to be involved in it. In fact, I hosted that show, I think last year, and I definitely ain't got no babies, and I never will. So, and they still accepted me. So, so check out Delivered. There's also Fugitive Stories, which is an amazing show that I think was also inspired by coming to Massmouth shows. Fugitive Stories happens in Acton and Arlington during the normal times. It so far hasn't had any Zoom shows, but be on the lookout for that. I also wanted to mention to folks, some folks in the chat were asking about Ajay, one of our board members who was called as a storyteller this evening. Ajay, actually, we texted with him and tried to get him to come on, but he wasn't available. So we're asking him, as we're asking many of you, to record your story and then share it on your social media so that Massmouth can also share it out on our social media so that we can keep these stories about change and memories about Massmouth going for just a little bit longer. I'm going to bring up Cheryl Hamilton to help me close the show because I feel really overwhelmed with with the weight of ending this on my own.
I just told,
leave me alone.
I told Abby, I was like, I said my piece, don't bring it back. Like, Paula, man, Paula, yeah. I don't know, Teresa, what to say except thank you. We love Massmouth. We love storytelling. That's what I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, this is truly all we can say, and I think I know it sounds corny, but like I said in my Massmouth minute, like the institution can end, but this is going to continue, and all of our friendships are going to continue, and the stories are going to continue, and all of us attempting to hold back tears all the time is going to continue. So yeah. This show has been a delight, and really.
I gotta say, I kind of wish our live shows had comments. Like it's kind of like addictive.
The only way we do is when, like, you know, Audra and I are conscientiously heckling from the audience, I guess. But it is really
any host knows that I'm texting them from the back of the room, being like, "We're over time." But you know what? Tonight this could go till midnight. Sorry, Abby. But seriously, thanks again to Club Passim, and thank you again. And go tell some stories. That's what I gotta say.
Thank you, everyone. We love you. We love you. We love you. And thank you for being here.
Awesome. Night, everybody.
Bye.